reallocate U.S. spending towards things that are actually effective for people in and outside of our borders.
Well,
so then we don't have people coming into our borders, and then we can help our people.
Well, no, if they come to the border and the border is closed and you say, hasta la vista, go back to Nicaragua.
Or we spend in Central America, they don't have to come to the U.S., and then we have a better U.S. It's the same amount of spending.
No, first of all, to solve the problems of the third world would cost trillions of dollars, and that would all be laundered and not even work. And again, it's not the position of the American government to go throw money around. Instead, it's our country's closed. We're not open for looting anymore. Go make Nicaragua great again, or go do what El Salvador has done. El Salvador is now a safe and stable country, and they're seeing their GDP go up, and it's not because of us.
Yeah, it is. We put $4 billion into South Central America.
Hold on, and you know, Bukele barely took the money. You know why it's safe? Bukele has turned El Salvador safe because he locked up all the criminals. He locked up 40,000 criminals and put them in prisons, and El Salvador is now safer than America. El Salvador was the murder capital of the world, and now El Salvador is much safer than America. I think it's wrong if you guys are afraid to walk the streets of Denver at night. I wouldn't walk the streets of Denver at night, would you guys?
No!
That's a breakdown of the fundamental role of government. Would you guys walk the streets of LA at night? No. The streets of San Francisco? No. We can't walk our own greatest cities at night, and we want to bring in more people from the third world? Hell no. We should be able to walk all of our cities at night and feel safe and secure in the homeland that our parents and grandparents built, and not have to wonder if we're going to get mugged or raped or have to be extorted on the sides of our own streets. That's a basic promise that government has broken down.
Would you call the border secure?
The border is secure.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
Mostly just immigration.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What about immigration have you been paying attention to?
There are thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border every day, and the vice president has done minimal work to fix that, based on what I've seen. So I'd like that to change.
We have to talk about open borders because this stuff is getting to a very dangerous level, right? And Chicago's the prime example of how I try to highlight how illegal immigration, mass immigration, open borders affects Black people, minority groups in this country. If you're Asian, it mostly affects you. If you're Hispanic that came here legally or you're of another descent, it actively affects you here because in Chicago, a lot of people are concerned that a turf war will happen with Venezuelan gang members from De Niagara. I don't know how to say that, but the TDA is what they're known for, and they're notorious for brutal violence and murder. And they're about to get into a turf war with many native Chicago gangs in the area because they're in Southside. I don't know if you heard about Southside, but in the Black community, the Southside is notoriously known as Chirac. Why it's called Chirac? That's where many, if you see the statistics of Black deaths in America, many of them, a high percentage of them, come from that area. And you're telling me your open border policies, the fact you bring all these people into these into Chicago, you're putting yourself in a deficit. This is according to Google. I Googled it, CBS News. Chicago faces a $982 million budget shortfall for 2025 because of the fact that he's using it to house migrants. Open borders. You saw from the intro how the messaging that Kamala Harris is portraying now does not fit the messaging she portrayed in 2022 when she was VP, and it currently still is VP. And this is what voters are seeing. Voters are seeing through the BS. And this is why I made that video that Kamala Harris and the Democrats are scared of the real voice of Americans. Because when you let Americans talk, they see through this BS that they're trying to portray. And I want to highlight this clip from CNN, Scott Jennings, kind of laying out to bear what I think is a perfect illustration of exactly what Americans are feeling about the comparison, the contrast between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and the fact that the media keeps honing in on superficial stuff that does not really matter against the core issues, which is inflation, immigration, and how these things play out into the race stuff, into the other narratives that they try to craft because they don't want to speak to the source of the problem. Let's take a look.
And I do think there's a reason that in our own CNN poll today, 51% of Americans said they judged Trump's
term to be a success, and only 37% have judged the Biden-Harris administration to be a success. There is something going on where people are remembering what he did, how he did it, and they're comparing it to what's happening right now. So you can cherry pick these individual statements or policies, but if you look at the comparative and you look at our own polling, you realize he's hit upon an economic vein that is working for him in this election. He beats Harris on it, and he is viewed as a better president than Biden and Harris.
50% say that Trump is better to handle the economy. Just 39% say that of Harris. And there's a lot of work for her to do here.
Poor and low-wage, working-class voters. Also, I mean, the issue you're conveniently leaving out of this conversation is they've been crushed by inflation for the last 3.5 years. And I don't think it's as simple as what you laid out, Keith, about race. I think they're looking at their overall situation and saying, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, I felt like I was at least had a fighting chance. And today, after being crushed, I'm in a hole so deep I don't know how to get out. And I do think they're looking. But I do think they're looking for someone to blame, or to at least say, why did these policies get enacted upon me? I'm the one who's feeling it the most. First of
all, how's that for experience? Many people in Chicago are feeling this. Chicago gang members and ex-convicts are warning of a coming violent turf war with newly arrival Venezuelan migrants who are part of the notorious gang Tren de Agua, or TDA. Not unlike other cities across the city, Chicago has been inundated with migrants as the border crisis rages on since 2022. Ring a bell, anyone? An estimated 48,000 migrants have come to the city, and the majority of the new migrants arrival are from Venezuela. I wonder how the Democrats are going to spin this as racism, because these are black Chicagoans complaining about this. Black people have been complaining. Black Chicagoans been sounding an alarm on this stuff, that the fact that, our streets are dangerous. If y'all don't do something about it, these people are going to take it into their own hands. We've been warned constantly. When the black gangs here get fed up with the illegalities and criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to be up in flames. And there'll be nothing that the National Guard or the government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets. Tyrone Muhammad, an ex-con and former gang member, told the New York Post, it will be blacks against migrants. I wonder how you're going to spin that narrative. Right? Instead of going with the substance, this is what conservatives worry about. Hey, illegal immigration hurts Americans. The media, how they spin it. Conservatives claim conspiratorial theories about white replacements as a threat to white power. Like, this is how you interpret it, because they'll say, if they're talking about Americans, let's look at it. Most Americans are white. They're really talking about white Americans. No, who's easier to replace? A minority or white people? The minority groups are easier to replace if you keep going by these numbers. This is why, as a conservative, I highlight to the black community, mass immigration, it does not help you. It minimizes your voting power. Like, imagine that. Don't you, this is why I'm thinking about these fake black Democrats these fake pro-blacks that these Democrats pretend that they are, is that they're actively supporting a party that's doing everything in its power, essentially, to minimize the power that the black vote has. Because at the end of the day, the Democratic Party sees the black vote almost like a handicap, because they see that, hey, we need these people to win, but we're slowly losing them because we're not giving them what they want. The foundational black Americans, these people who claim that they're the legitimate black Americans, that since they're descendant of slaves, or at least they think they are, that they deserve a certain policy position. And the Democrats know if they give that certain policy position, reparations, they'll lose the election, because only black people will vote for that. But no other race will be like, no, we're not complicit in that. F that. And this is the thing I try to highlight to a lot of black Americans, is that Kamala's a flip-flopper. Kamala cannot be trusted on this issue. The economy and immigration, Trump has a proven track record that we already got the results of his track record about immigration, the economy. The economy only went down to a shortfall because of what happened with COVID. And many of the Democrats were complicit in that, because Democrats believed in shutting down their states. Red states didn't believe that. And you saw the contrast, and you saw who was right in the end of that. Red states were less affected by the negative outcomes of COVID than blue states. Blue states were hurt economically. Blue states were hurt educational-wise because of the fact that they delayed their kids' education system. It affected all of us, yes, but who's affected more? There was more COVID deaths in blue states than red states. And red states was more free. Red states were more open. But all the Democrat cities closed down. But Trump's mismanagement of COVID, you see the narrative? Like they played no part in it. Trump's solution was, hey, everyone do their own thing. And it allowed us, the American people, to see how this person approached it versus how this person approached it. And we got to judge the results of something. Kamala Harris campaigns refused to provide stance on migrant flight programs. The migrant flight programs had allowed nearly 530,000 migrants into the United States of America. But I'm supposed to expect her to be tough on the border, right? As you saw from the intro with Charlie Kirk, he was talking to a college student in Colorado about the fact that migrants are taking over empty apartment complexes, and they're doing the same thing in Chicago. And this is going to cause a lot of violence. So imagine that you as an American taxpayers, and this is what pisses off a lot of Chicagoans in Chicago, especially black Chicagoans, is the fact that Mayor Johnson, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is literally going into a budget shortfall to house migrants that are aligned or in cahoots with a gang in Venezuela, smuggling in guns, operating prostitution rings in these shelters for the migrants. And you as a Chicagoan, your safety's at risk. A lot of blood. You could be a victim of these offenses between the turf war between the two gangs. And you're paying for it. Imagine that as a taxpayer. Imagine as a law-abiding U.S. taxpayer in Chicago that your mayor is going to nearly $1 billion in debt to keep these gang members and all the people that infiltrated through using your empathy and your good heart. Essentially, you're paying to get yourself killed. You're paying to get yourself assaulted. You're paying to get yourself attacked. You're paying for a possible turf war in Chicago. Members of TDA are taking over Chicago's turf. Residents said that they're also receiving robust welfare benefits, further angering residents and gang members who say the money should be going to Chicago citizens who are suffering. The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter into our country. This is a gang member saying that. A former gang member told the Post, they let terrorist groups into our country. This is the sentiment many Americans are hitting at. But what do you have to say to that, Black Democrat? You're going to keep talking about how Trump's racist? You want to keep pointing to narratives and stuff that in reality seem to have no real proof or validity to it? All you're trying to do is craft a narrative. All you're really trying to do is rationalizing why black people should just go along with the Democratic Party when the Democratic Party is actively putting in policies that's incentivizing bad outcomes to happen in their district, in their country. I know I'm speaking to somebody today. And you want us to continue going along with this? You want logical men to vote for the first female president. Sorry, I did air quotes. I was thinking about black female president because of abortion. Something that you might need to do versus something that's actually happening right now and will continue to happen right now. And if you put this lady in office, will incentivize more of the same. Change is always outside your comfort zone. And this is what I try to tell many people who are reserved to voting for Donald Trump. Because the idea is you shouldn't be caring about personality when it comes to politicians. This is the point I made in my previous videos, is that we have essentially voted for people who are good at faking how they are. And that's what we reward. Like I said, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. If your incentive is, I need to vote for someone who seems presidential, who is composed and calm. Well, if the calm and composed person is arguing for bad ideas and bad policies that will provide bad outcomes, you'll vote for that over someone who may not have the best manners, may not come across in the best light, but he gives you good outcomes. It's almost like politicians, it's almost like us as the American voters, we have created an incentive structure where we reward fakeness. That's what we did. That's what we have done. That's honestly what we have done. We have created a voting incentive system that reward fake people. And the faker someone is, the better someone is that's acting like something that we want them to act, the more we vote for them, regardless if their ideas actually give us good outcomes or not. And that, I think that is the lesson that many voters are learning from 2020. Biden said, we're fighting for the soul of the nation, right? He presented himself well, right? People felt sorry for him, right? Trump didn't do himself any favors, appearance-wise. But if you were logical, you looked at the results, you're like, yo, yeah, he's an asshole, but he's a good employee. How many people you know? Like, let's bring it down. Let's move from the governmental level. Look at your personal life. What we will call someone who's not really good at their job, but they kiss ass a lot. A brown noser, right? And you know, hey, you're not qualified, but they get promoted. We always hate that. We hate, oh, you only got promoted because you kissed the boss's A, right? Essentially, this is politics today. We got Kamala Harris, essentially the brown noser in the election. Oh, you only got this job because you know a bunch of people. Joe Biden picked you as your VP. The media's uplifting you, giving you nothing but positive coverage. And the guy that's actually good at the job, because he don't have the best personality, because he doesn't want to kiss the boss's butt, but the boss knows they can't fire him because they're like, yo, he does good work. We can't fire him, but I don't like his attitude, so I'm gonna keep him in his position. Bureaucracy. This is what it is. America, do you want to reward bureaucracy or you want to reward results? Because it's obvious when all of us are not satisfied with this economy. All of us is not satisfied with this governance. So what logical sense it is to vote for an individual from the same party that put you or accelerated the mess that you're currently in? That's the thought I think I want many Americans to ponder. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts about it. You agree with my angle, disagree with my angle, add to my angle. I'd like to hear it all in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.